What's scarier than aliens, Korea, and gangs? Yeah, that's right. It's mold. Yeah?
No.
No? You didn't like that one?
No.
Should me and Jordan do it instead?
You can try. See how easy.
She can go
ahead.
first,
Yeah, please
yeah.
go.
Yeah,
go
do
for
yours,
it.
do yours.
Our next caller has had the remodel from hell, and now their house looks like something out of Stranger Things. Take a listen.
Give Jordan a shot.
Can moist clothes lead to a moist life? Find out on this next call.
It's pretty funny.
That was
That's
like
funny.
ASMR too.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was like, I'm feeling strangely comfortable.
Wim Hof, that is a fake name, but you are a real person. You've been having some mold issues. Tell me about it.
Oh, man. Well, to be honest, it's a long story, but I'll try to just get to the important parts.
Sure.
So I guess it all started back in late summer of last year, so 2023. Somebody knocked on our door. My wife and I, we were just having a good time at our house. Somebody knocked on our door, and it was one of those door-to-door salesman type people. And he was telling us about this company that he works for that does kind of like home remodels.
Okay.
And it's something that my wife and I, we were actually working on. Ever since we got this house. So we were pretty interested. It all seemed great. The guy was great. He was awesome. And sure enough, once we got everything done, the company came in and worked on primarily two things at our house. It was the siding of the house.
Okay.
And they also installed some type of aluminum lining on the inside of our attic.
Okay.
It was something about reducing the crazy Texas summer heat that we have.
The heat shield.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds very necessary, like
And you
like
actually-
a space shuttle.
You have some construction experience, Jordan, right?
Yeah, well, I don't do like the house build. I do like fiber optic cables
Okay.
infrastructure. So
Oh, man.
no, that's it's starting not to sound good. He spoke really good English.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he spoke really good English. Everything
Okay.
was.
Oh, no,
everything,
that's not good.
No,
You're
no,
saying
you
that's not
misunderstand.
good.
That's actually really bad.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
But
Oh my. Okay. so it was the end of. I mean, there's not really any heat. It's not exactly cold towards the end of the year,
Okay.
except for now. I mean, it's a little chilly, but there's no humidity throughout the later part of the year. Now we go over to the top of 2024. Just for this isn't really relevant to the, I suppose, like the legal stuff, but it's sort of relevant to the story itself. So at the top of the year, we start out. My wife's grandmother actually passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it was rough. They were really close, and I mean, a couple weeks after that, I suffered an aortic dissection, which, I mean, a lot of people aren't too familiar with it. But it's
Jordan doesn't know what that is, so why don't you?
Yeah, also
explain
none
that
of
for
us
me.
do.
I
Yeah.
don't know either.
Yeah, Jordan, to enlighten you and nobody else, it is essentially one of the aortas that is attached to the heart that takes blood throughout the rest of my body. It tore. It almost completely ruptured, but it only tore, and it had to be an immediate sort of fix.
Is it a heartbreak?
It was what?
Do you call that like a heartbreak?
No, it wasn't exactly like my heart itself. It's fine. It's just the valve, the aortic valve that's attached to it. It tore, and it was kind of just like leaking blood inside of my body.
Oh.
So yeah, I dialed 911. Obviously.
How are you alive? I'm sorry. I just it sounds like a really serious. That sounds crazy.
No, yeah, it's really serious. I was in the hospital after everything was over. My wife told me that apparently it's like a 10% survival rate, which is crazy.
Hey, you should buy a lottery ticket. That sounds pretty.
That's what everyone tells me. But I don't know. The rest of the year hasn't been going so great, so I don't know about it, to be honest.
Okay, so you get the remodel done. They're speaking really good English, which is our first red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happens with your heart. You survive the heart surgery. 10%
Right.
odds. Clap it up for that.
Thank you.
It sounds like the story's going pretty well. What went wrong?
I guess where the story starts declining a little bit is I'm out of a job. I can't really do anything with my arms, my chest, and I also suffered severe nerve damage. My both legs were gone, but after the surgery, only one leg was gone, so that's a plus. I've done a lot of therapy since then, so I'm relatively in better shape, but I couldn't work. My wife was the sole
Breadwinner.
well, yes, exactly, yeah. So she was the only person working. She was taking care of me and working, taking care of like the house bills, everything, and everything was a steady. Like in all fairness, it seemed okay
Okay.
until
What? Yeah, okay, here we go. What went wrong? Yeah.
until we got to I would say like maybe late May, and the summer started kicking in. Late May this year, 2024. The summer started kicking in, and we realized that our house was a little bit warmer than it should be. We noticed some of our clothing was a little damp, which was very odd. And
Like when you say
eventually,
your clothing was damp, you mean the clothing you're wearing, or like in your closets and drawers, or
yeah, the clothes that was stored in the closets and drawers, yeah, the clothes that was hanging, the clothes that was folded, everything was like a little damp, and it seemed odd, but we didn't really know what to tie it to, so we kind of just like let it go.
I mean, the first thing I do is I blame my wife for hanging up wet clothes.
that's actually a very good response. I would say my kids, they stop the dryer like assholes. Yeah. So you've got moist clothes,
Oh, I hate that word.
unusually moist clothes.
Right. And my wife is doing some cleaning. We have a decorative cutting board that we got when we got married, and she spots a bit of mold on it.
Okay.
And she's like, "Oh no, this is bad." Like, so as she's cleaning around, she discovers more and more mold. Since my surgery, I've had a couple like bouts of pneumonia, and my wife was just pretty much trying to protect me and my health.
Yeah.
So kudos to her. I mean, she's amazing.
How much mold? How much mold did you find?
It was, I don't know like how to quantify it, but it was spread throughout our kitchen wall, and our kitchen wall is connected. On the other side is our main bath and our half bath. So it was all throughout, pretty much the entire kitchen wall. On the other side where the bathroom is, it was on some of our cabinets. And
What did it look like? Was it?
It was like speckled, just green mold. Like I suppose if you have like green paint and you just
Yeah.
like throw it against the wall like in splashes. It was a lot like that. And
At least it wasn't black mold. That's the worst.
yeah. Well, we actually found a tiny bit of black mold in the bathroom, so unfortunately.
Oh.
So let me make sure I understand. So the wall in between your kitchen and your master bath and bedroom looks like the entrance to the Upside Down in Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
And were you able to determine where it was coming from or what caused it?
Well, we called our insurance, and they recommended that we seek out like mold specialists.
Right.
We talked to the mold specialist, and apparently there's like a whole process you have to go through in Texas where like you can't start here, you have to call this person, and you can't start there, you have to call somebody else. So eventually we spoke to a specialist that we described to them what was happening, and they told us that it sounded like mold bloom, a bacterial bloom, or something along those lines.
Yeah, Stranger Things.
Yeah, exactly.
A
Stranger
mold
Things.
bloom is the second worst bloom. Orlando bloom is the worst. I don't.
Oh man,
I'm not a fan.
I think your first mistake was calling your insurance and you didn't call.
We rebranded.
Next time.
Well,
hardly legal now because we
Hardly.
got- yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bleep that out because of the porn filters.
YouTube banned us for being called. Have you ever had any experience with mold, Avi?
With mold, I live in an apartment that is very cheap, and
So yes.
so yes, just chronic illness. I'm kind of sitting here quietly on the call, like, how can I get legal advice from this?
Do you want to just you want class action lawsuit? Maybe.
Yeah, class action.
So Wim, when you guys see it's a mold bloom, were you able to figure out where it was coming from or what it was caused by?
yes. So one of the many people that we called along the line of lists of people that we needed to call, somebody told us, or actually it was one of our AC installation companies. Somebody thought it was like maybe the AC was the cause or something along those lines. So we called out to our AC company, which is great. They came immediately. They checked everything out, and they took a look at the AC. The AC was fine. They took a look into the attic and asked us if we noticed that our one and only attic fan was covered by this aluminum lining.
Oh.
Yeah, so he told us here inside the house, and then he showed us outside the house where our fan was, and as like the fan should be rotating. As I mean, you notice driving around, you see houses, their little circular things are moving around. Ours wasn't. It was completely still, and
that's all your
sort of-
ventilation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we put. Well, I mean, the guy from the AC company really put it together for us. He told us that that's what it was, and sure enough, it made a lot of sense because one of the other specialists that we spoke to that mentioned the mold bloom, the second worst kind of bloom, of course, that it was usually caused by some kind of condensation inside the house. Yeah. So from there, we were like, okay, we spoke to another mold company, like mold remediation company, and the guy came in. He had this little equipment with him that measured the humidity inside the house,
Mm-hmm.
and the humidity was above 60% throughout the entire house. And I think, just to put it in terms, I think like regular humidity is somewhere like below 30.
Okay.
So he told us like, hey, this is going to be a very huge job. You're going to need a bigger company than myself. He was a local, smaller company, but he recommended somebody over to us. But of course, that company, the bigger company, it just meant bigger money.
Yeah.
With
How long had you been in this house? When did you move in?
We've been in this house a total of, I want to say, close to 3 years now.
Okay, so you'd been through 2 summers before this remodel.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that you noticed the house was hotter, the clothes were wet. You'd been through 2, so it's pretty clear that we've blocked the ventilation fan in this remodel, and now we have mold. It seems like the causation
you're able to we'll pretty link that causally. So
it's not a new build house where it's like, well, it could be
Right.
3 or 4 different things. Okay, so
Exactly.
walk me through. Did you stay in the house because you've got the heart surgery, and we now discovered that there's mold everywhere? Did you stay in the house? Did you move? Did you have to pay for a hotel? Talk to me about the costs and the damages here.
This is our first time experiencing mold. We had no idea how to treat it, how to react to it, except by calling specialists, which, told us that it could be like hazardous.
right.
So naturally, most of our wooden things, like our cabinets, they developed mold. So we had to get rid of them. So we were pretty much getting rid of like left and right, trying to find a way to solve the problem, because honestly, we had nowhere to go. It's me and my wife, and we have 2 dogs. So for somebody to take us in, it's a bit of a hassle.
Have the dogs been taken a look at? Have you sent them to the vet? Because I think mold affects dogs quite a bit.
Yeah. Actually, I went to the vet just recently, and everything's a-okay. They're up to date with their shots too, so I mean, everything's good there.
So you got the hearts situation during the mold, like it happened during that time or before?
During that time, it was after the surgery. I was in recovery for, I mean, a lot of months, but it was shortly after I was discharged from the hospital.
And how did you tear that? How did it tear? Did the doctor say?
No, they said it was some kind of freak high blood pressure sort of thing.
Can the high blood pressure be associated with mold in the house?
It can sometimes. It can. And what's related?
Really?
You mentioned earlier, Wim, that you were getting pneumonia. There is mold provoked pneumonia. It's pretty rare, but can be some of the worst forms of pneumonia. I'm curious whether that was specifically diagnosed as being from the mold, or the mold can just reduce your body's ability to fight off infection and then cause you to be more susceptible to get regular pneumonia. I'm curious if there was any details on that front.
Sounds like he has a really good case building so far, no?
Yeah.
Definitely got some damages for sure.
If you want me
Yeah.
to come to court, I'll help you testify. If you
Awesome.
send me a
Thank you.
little something.
So let's talk about those. Let's talk about those damages a little more. So did you ultimately you had to tear out big parts of your house because of the mold, and then did you ultimately move out of the house for some period of time?
Yes. So the first thing we did, we actually, I mean, we told our parents. I told my parents, my wife told her parents, and for the time being, her mom was more than willing to help us out and let us stay with her for like an X amount of time.
Case is building, emotional damages, having to stay with the mother-in-law.
Yeah, that's where
No,
the real
see-
dollars are.
Do you have any idea of what you've incurred in terms of expenses so far?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
We have.
So it's
well, I
okay.
can-
That's why we do the calls. I think that we're going to do a lot of things, but one of the things that you should do right now is start to consider, what the cost was of the things that you've thrown away so far, right? Organize what your medical bills have been so far. Whether you're talking to us or any lawyer, they're going to be able to be like, hey, what has happened so far? And when you speak broadly, we can still be like, hey, we need to follow up with this. But then at some point, we're still going to have to organize this information. So that's a thing for you to do. The next thing is potentially, and Bill and I are not doctors. I doubt Jordan is, just based on
Avi looks like a doctor. Yeah.
Avi might be.
I used to be a biochemistry student, but go on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, so might be, but I feel like we want to see if there's potentially any linkage of the mold and the more serious heart issues he's had or complications from that, and that's something that you're going to want a specialist to look at, because we can chat GPT it. I guess the real question here is we want to make sure that you're safe, and it sounds like we're taking steps to do that. What has the company that did the remodel, the company with the good English, do they also have good insurance? Are they registered? Have you looked into this company at all?
I found you guys on Reddit, and obviously when things were going
Incredible.
south with the company, yeah, we the first thing I did was obviously I typed in the company name and then I put Reddit, and it seems like it's less than reputable in
Oh, no.
Reddit at least. But I'm not sure as far as all of their insurances. At some point, we did contact them, or we were in complete contact with them the whole time. They were going back and forth, and yes, we'll help you, no, we'll help you, and ultimately, no, we won't help you. But my wife asked them several times for like some type of case number that she would be able to track, and they never got back to her with anything of the sort.
Yeah,
So I don't really know.
this is screaming lawyer up.
Yeah,
right,
it sounds
Bill?
like
this is like
neglectfulness.
Absolutely.
yeah.
I would start like emailing so that you have it all in writing. That
Yeah.
they're just not responding.
Have you been emailing with them on this?
We my wife was actually texting with like the representative of their company. So it's not emails, but we have some texts.
Good. Text message is written. Written's good in any form. I mean, it could be an email, it could be a letter, it could be a text, it could be cuneiform. It doesn't matter like what you have as long as it's somewhere in documentation. And so what I kind of would love to do at this point is talk a little bit and start fleshing out how to organize your thinking on this front. One of the big things that's going to matter is the contract you had with the contractor. Was there an actual written contract?
Yes.
Okay. So within that contract is going to have language that you probably skipped over, because most people do, buried in some fine print about limitations on liability, limitations of damages, and things like that. Don't let those scare you, because they're not the end of the world, but they will have an impact on how much you can claim and what you can do. It's going to be one of the very first things that a lawyer looks at when they take your case and understand what is possible here. The other part is, I will tell you that as recently as last year, there was a multi-million-dollar verdict against an HVAC contractor in Houston over the fact that they messed up a system that they put in and caused mold that forced a family out of their home. The children were sick, the parents were sick, etc. So very, very similar, unfortunately not uncommon. It's really interesting. If you just Google cover attic fan, like the second hit is don't fucking cover your attic fans, especially in the winter, because that's when the mold gets started because of the condensation of the heat temperature differential. It gets set there in the winter while it's covered and just gets way, way, way worse. So it was most likely growing even in February, or whenever the work got done. What time of year was it? The work got done. Was it late summer 23?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
by the winter, it starts really getting into place and starts getting bigger. Right now, let's say you've got move out costs, you've got medical expenses. For the medical expenses, like Josh said, it's very important, and any lawyer is going to tell you, you need to go to a medical professional to have them really specifically look at the impact of mold, because some folks will go, you'll go into the doctor, you'll talk to them, whatnot, and they'll go, oh yeah, you have this thing, but they don't realize that all of these different issues are linked because of the mold. And go ahead.
Organizing and telling your story is going to be important, right? Like I really wanted to give you space to tell this. And I'm saying this with a spirit of love, brother. We're here to try to help you, right? You told a lot of story and gave very few facts. Like, you're giving a lot of story. So we need to organize your facts and clean it up, because when you have a meeting with a doctor, or when we get you set up with a lawyer, they're going to have a short attention span. And unfortunately, because of that, people get bad treatment, because the doctor is just looking for the first answer and they don't want to hear the whole story. They don't have the ability to hear the whole story. So we want to help prepare kind of like a concise version of what's happened so far, what the causality is, and make sure that all these professionals are able to see the whole story. But yeah, I
timeline, right? Like a timeline,
it's a timeline.
of mold,
Yeah,
and then I had my heart issue. And...
a statement of the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're trying to get people to help you, we've had calls on this show. We had a woman call in who wanted to get child support changed. She was looking to get child support changed from like $300 to $600 a month. That's all it started with. 45 minutes later, there's a dead kid.
Oh, wow.
Not because of the call.
Not because no one died on the call. It's just as we start digging deeper and we peel back the layers of the onion, it's not just psychological abuse, it's money abuse, it's financial abuse, it's physical abuse, it's potentially, at a minimum, the father that they're having this custody fight with wasn't a good dad and might have even been worse than that. So you want to lead with the spirit of or the important element of this, and that is that, brother, you have had a lot going on in the last year. You've had medical issues. You haven't been able to feel safe in your own home, and it's directly linked to the behavior of this remodel. And you can say all that in 20 seconds, but it took us, the first 8 minutes to get there. So I just want to help you organize that. So I think I'll let Bill do the wrap up of what our next steps are.
Yeah, I mean, if for example, just using what you've given me right now in this call that we've had with the four of us, is the five of us in total, is you had a contractor, they covered a necessary ventilation item. That ventilation was a latent defect in the work that they did that caused the mold to grow over many, many months. That impacted your health of you and your wife, and added additional complications and health risk and medical costs to your livelihood, to your life, as well as causing you to have to move out of the home, which is additional damages, the cost of living somewhere else or moving or any of that, plus mold remediation, right? Just getting the home into a place where it can be livable or even sellable, because mold, of course, is a terrible, terrible stain on any home of a history of a home if you're trying to do something with it. That little kind of summary is what's going to help you then figure out, okay, we've got the contract, what are the limitations, where could we sue? For example, if your claim is under $20,000, you could choose to go litigate this yourself without having a lawyer and do it in small claims court. I will tell you that any kind of case that involves, is this kind of medical thing happening, these medical damages, did it complicate this other thing, that's going to be above the $20,000, and you're going to want to have a lawyer anyways. Yeah. My guess, I would be shocked if the damages that you have doesn't end up being in the mid or high mid or high five figures, if not into the six figures, when you get into medical and remediation and your move out costs.
I think we're already in that thick middle five figures, and then if there's any link to the medical conditions that you have, then it skyrockets from there. So I really appreciate you calling in. We're glad that you did. You have a really serious condition here. We're glad that you're okay. What I want you to do is start to organize those things that we talked about. Organize your damages, organize your medical records. And we don't have the time today because we have other callers on hold, but I'll do another call with you next week personally and help you get organized and get pointed in the right direction with this. Okay?
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. And I'll let you talk to Ryan, our intake specialist, after this. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Luck.
Be in touch soon. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, man. Heart leaking, wife working, mold cooking in
breathing,
the walls.
Mold breathing.
That sucks. Yeah. And he's such a nice guy. Like, I feel like he needs to fight for the situation.
Yeah.
all the
He's a
way.
perfect
Yeah,
case, it
yeah.
seems like.
We had a caller, one of our first callers was a story about mold and getting sick from mold. And I went home. I looked everywhere for mold. I went home. I did. I went home. I found it. We had an AC unit on the upstairs, and there was mold inside of it. Now I sent it to people. I was like, "Are we dead? Are we dead already? Am I? Do I have months to live?" And it was like the normal mold that happens in air. Like most air conditioners have some mold in them. Like I went deep down the rabbit hole in this. Yeah. And so I cleaned it all out. I put the new filters in and everything. And at least every couple weeks I go in and I look in that air conditioner.
I don't
take
know.
It apart.
If you're on your phone looking up what does black mold look like, I feel like you're already in deep. You already have
you've already
mold in
been
the house.
infected. Yeah.
Well, once I heard that
The
lady's
World War Z
story,
style.
like
yeah.
we don't talk about mold. Everyone's like afraid of COVID or afraid of Korea. Mold.
Yeah.
Mold is real.
I was listening to the caller and I was a little quiet because I was like, oh no. I'm thinking about how my feet are wet in my carpet just
no.
as
What?
arresting every. Yeah, I was, oh man, I need to call my own mold specialist.
Your
whenever
carpet's
I get
wet
home.
right now.
Yeah, and it's not because of anything that I
You
did.
on the first floor?
I'm on the third floor.
Oh,
Yeah, Mr. Winhoff, give me your phone number for the mold specialist. I might.
I'm going to send them to you.
How long
'cause-
has your carpet
yeah.
been wet, and what do you even do with that? Like flip flops, like shower shoes? How do you walk around that?
I look for somewhere else to move into whenever I have more money. Whenever
Okay.
the pageant crown pays off.
Nice.
I mean,
This is when you sell the crown. I'm going to buy it out of a pawn shop.
please.
I mean, so I will say on that point, right? Like for our listeners at home as well, the very first thing when he was kind of talking about bouncing around different folks is there are specific companies that just do the mold testing. They'll come out, they can do just a simple air test, they'll do a surface test, they can do borings into walls if you're really concerned about that or they think that might be an issue. But this dampness is one of the big things because in that kind of environment is where mold happens. So
Now you said you do like fiber optic stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever like been looking at a house and then you see mold at the house?
So I like the work I do. When I used to be at Spectrum, I was a technician at Spectrum. So I saw more those type of things when I was like an installer.
What's the
technician.
wildest thing you saw as an installer?
This guy was like had like a bedroom that was like full of trash, like just random trash, like just bottles and clothes and stuff. But it was like shin high,
Oh,
and he was
you
like,
had to get in there.
yeah, it's because he was like, my Wi-Fi's in there. I don't know why it's working. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure it's probably because
Everything's blocked.
yeah. So
buried
all
under
your
Burger
shit.
King boxes.
it's weird. I walk in and then he's like, yeah, man, sorry for the mess. You know, we're doing. He said like winter cleaning, which I've never heard anybody
so
say
funny.
winter clean. It's always spring cleaning. Like, or,
Maybe he only cleans every winter.
yeah,
right? And
but
that's-
he doesn't because it's like old Sprite cans from like 2008 in there. It was
With the
classic
old
Sprite.
Sprite
Yeah,
logo. Yeah,
exactly.
vintage. You
you're like,
sell
oh, I
it.
remember collecting those tabs.
you see a
and-
lot. Like, I mean, when I was a technician, when you in people's houses, like I had a lady, she was like, yeah, like I came out, I called you out from my internet, but she was like an older lady. She was like, but I really just need you to take the Christmas decorations out of the attic. I was like, no, I can't do that, man. It might be mold up there.
Yeah, my boyfriend talks about hiring like one of those sexy maid services because they're cheap, but only just to have them clean.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bring
No,
Okay.
put the clothes back on, please.
Honey, I'm not cheating. I'm cleaning.
Yeah. Clean that mold.
No, I think it actually, I love the idea of like when you call the technician to come out, you just find the weirdest thing in your house and just like set it out, right? Set it right next to the thing. He's got to
Yeah.
move it to get to the Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi router is behind all those clothes that need to be folded.
That's funny.
Behind this large collection of dildos.
You see all types of stuff. People ask you they having issues with the computer. Oh man, like I mean, I got stories that I go on for hours. Just the last one though, it was the craziest thing. It was like one of the last places I visited before I left, and this old man wanted me to like he said his internet wasn't connected to his computer, and I was like, all right, sure, I'll take a look. And what you thought was on the computer, you know, porn, right? But it was like recent search histories, and the scariest part about it is that the description was like redhead, like a white woman or something, and like I got red hair, and so it was kind of like
You started feeling.
You,
Yeah, I was
you,
like,
you identified with
I'm
red-haired
just
white
tight. I
woman
was like,
search. Yeah.
it's time to get out of here.
Yeah, you were like, I gotta go. I
Yeah.
gotta go.
Gotta go find some mold.
You know, both times when you were like, so I walked into this person's house, I was like, oh God, he's gonna say sex dungeon.
Well, and
And
he
then
was
you were
like doing the fingers too.
Yeah,
never that
yeah.
lucky.
I was like, do not, please don't say, please don't say.
No,
Please.
hell no.
Man, that's
Yeah.
bad stuff. But that's there's a lot of folks with mold. If you've had a mold issue, especially in Texas, help Wim Hof. Leave a contact if you worked with a mold remediation company or an inspector, air quality specialist, whatnot. It's a community that we're building here at Hardly Legal, so we'd love for you to be able to help. Comment if you've seen some weird shit because you help to do utilities or services in homes. Please also leave those comments, and we'll see if you can't top Jordan J's craziness. But thanks for joining us on Hardly Legal.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to be here for you when you need that cheap date.